Hello, just before we start this week's episode, to let you know that by far the greatest team football podcast is going off on its Bundesliga-style winter break. So we will be off from our regular episodes until the end of January. But we didn't want to leave it just like that, especially not at this festive time of year. So we have put together 4 little small festive treats for you over this period, slightly shorter episodes than the usual. Jamie, what have we got lined up?
Yeah, we've got some real delights, some festive delights. We've got your good self, Graham, covering the incredible Chesterfield story when they had their run to the FA Cup semi-finals in 1997. We've then got the wonderful Phil Craig talking all about North Korea, 1966, the incredible surprise package of the World Cup. Then we've got Declan Clark back with us, covering, and he can't believe he's getting his teeth into this, Manchester City, 1967 to 1970, a holy trinity of players and on the wrong side of Manchester, I like to think. But that's going to be a fun one. And finally, I'm going to be shining a wonderful light on Vancouver Whitecaps, the 1979 North American Soccer League playoff national champions.
So 4 little festive treats ready. They'll be coming at you over the next few weeks whilst we're on our break. We will be back at the end of January. And it's over to you, Graham. This time, Christmas time. It's a bumper holiday special with Chesterfield's FA Cup heartbreak. Because I'll stay a while over forever and more. Yes, hello and welcome to By Far the Greatest Team, a football podcast in which football fans attempt the impossible to rank once and for all who is the greatest team of all time. My name's Graham Dunn, as ever, making the case for Oxford United where they don't belong. And joining me is a man who, he has made a list. He knows who is naughty and nice at this time of year. And he's also got the data spreadsheets to support it. It's our king of the data, Jamie Rooney.
Spreadsheets for Christmas gifts, more like. I have to say, your intro, that's the good, the bad, and there's also some ugly, because the good was that you said Christmas time and didn't break into mistletoe and wine. So thank you for that. The bad is, for those who are listening, they won't know you're wearing a really poor Santa's hat right now. Not even styling it in an elf quality way. And no, the ugly, I was expecting you to see you, a bit worse for wear, hungover after celebrating your Scottish football team's League Cup triumph over Celtic this week. I thought you'd be on the parade.
St. Mirren. I had temporarily forgotten that St. Mirren. I was wondering why St. Mirren were leading the BBC Sports News page. It seemed a bit surreal to me. But yeah, glorious times at St. Mirren. Well, here we go, Jamie. We're on our bumper Christmas episode. This is always a lot of fun.
More teams, more guests. I mean, what's not to like?
Absolutely. Where are you going for this special Christmas episode? What team are you going to put the case for?
Yeah, so I think I'm bottom of the pile, and I'm going to go back to our favourite soccer league, the NASL, and shine a very bright light on the Vancouver Whitecaps of 1979, and I can't wait. It's almost like when I was doing my research, I almost felt like I was the Kevin Spacey character. I think is it Verbal?
Yeah.
In The Usual Suspects, because as I started putting stuff together, it was almost like a collage of all the podcasts that we've done previously. And then there was a theme building as well. My Kaiser Sose moment was, because there were so many links back to the episode that one of our guests today has done, and that's Phil Craig. There were links to pretty much all of the episodes that Phil has been on. So, yeah, it was quite a revelation, really, doing my research on Vancouver Whitecaps.
Kaiser Soze was Kazi Dana.
That's exactly it. He was.
Oh, there you go.
I don't think that's going to be the only Escape to Victory reference today.
Oh, well, that's even better. You going North American Soccer League. I am going for something a bit closer to home, Chesterfield and their FA Cup semi-final heartbreak. which is like just a fantastic, if sad story. Two massively iconic moments. One, getting on the wrong side of a cruel goal line technology decision or lack of technology. And secondly, surely the greatest piece of glasses coming off in the dugout since Joe Jordan introduced himself to Gattuso that time. There's an absolutely glorious John Duncan glasses moment in this, which I'll be celebrating. So Chesterfield for me back in 1997. But we're not going to do it alone. We have some Christmas helpers here. And we're welcoming back Declan Clark.
Good evening, guys. Merry Christmas all. I'm here to ruin it again for you. The Grinch of football.
Well, very much so. Now we seldom let you out of the northwest region, and I think that's where you're stuck again.
Yeah, I don't mind being stuck on the pitch that was a quagmire in the period that we're going to cover. But I'm going to be covering Manchester City from 1967 to 70, a little period where they had a little run of success. And my goodness, there's some interesting tales in here. Tales of the unexpected all over the place.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that one. And making up our special Christmas quartet, welcome back, Philip Craig. How are you doing, Phil?
Very well, thank you. Of course, for me, Christmas has Christmas has come early, and good St. Nick has already delivered his present in the 47th minute of the second half. So, yeah, happy Christmas, everybody.
In an unusual moment, we are actually recording this remarkably close to transmission time. So actually, the reference won't even be lost. People will actually understand the glorious own goal moment. Absolutely something special, wasn't it?
It was. It won't be the last time I mention it throughout the next however minutes of this podcast.
Now, we tend not to let you out of the Northeast if we can. And in many ways, we have kept you there for this one.
Yeah, we're going back nearly 60 years, 59 years to the 1966 World Cup. We're going nowhere near Wembley. We're going to spend a lot of the time in Middlesbrough, and we're going to talk about North Korea creating perhaps the biggest shock, the greatest shock in World Cup history.
Yes, quite some story. North Korea. Where to begin? Well, we're going to take you back to a football backwater, untouched by Western society. Yes, we're starting in Chesterfield. So, yes, Chesterfield, 1997, I'm going to take you back. That's a glorious, glorious time, I have to say. Now, Chesterfield are a third-tier side at this point, and Jamie, it's probably fair to say they are usually a third-tier side.
Yeah, they're a strange team. Chesterfield have been around for a very, very long time, since the almost like the birth of football. But they're one of these football teams that has never really had any success of note. Now, I could be doing Chesterfield a disservice there, but I don't think they've really won anything other than the odd Football League trophy, those minor cups that minor teams win, Graham. But other than that, yeah, they're not a football team that have really left an impression on the landscape of football or football history in general.
Well, of course, you're doing disservice because they are current holders of a leading football tournament. They are the last winners of the Anglo-Scottish Cup.
No, shut the front door, really?
Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that. Was that when it was? No, it's not when it was an amateur competition. That must have been when it was a professional competition instead.
Yeah, it's a proper tournament at this stage. I think it's 1983, is it?
1981. I've just got it here now in front of me. Yeah. Wow.
It's fair to say that the tournament was losing a bit of its shine by then. They beat Notts County in the final, so not necessarily the greatest, highest quality of tournament. But yeah, they are the last winners of it, so they are the holders.
Well, there you go. I did them a massive disservice.
And as a thing of beautiful symmetry, do you know who the first winners of the Anglo-Scottish Cup were?
Man City?
It's Middlesbrough.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that a thing of beauty?
Should have been thinking more laterally. Yeah.
Yeah. So Middlesbrough were the first winners, and Chesterfield are the last winners. I think there's only 5 iterations of that cup, but there you go. But yeah, Chesterfield have generally not done a great deal. They, I think the last time they were in second tier was 1951. They're sort of floating around between divisions. They have John Duncan back in charge, and John Duncan is quite a successful manager with them. He got them promoted in the mid-80s, which then got him the job at Ipswich. And then he goes back to Chesterfield and he gets them promoted again from the 4th tier to the 3rd tier, which is where they find themselves in 1997 with the FA Cup. There's probably only a couple of players who anyone kind of would remember from this team. So one of them is the man mountain that is Kevin Davis, who started his career there and he was playing more as a wide man at that point. And the other probably significant figure, someone that Dec will probably remember, I don't know, fondly or otherwise, it was one Sean Dyche.
Oof. Carry on.
Do you know what? There are certain managers that they've had playing careers, but you can't imagine they had playing careers. And Sean Dyche, for me, falls into that category. And what type of footballer was Sean Dyche? I can only imagine the type of player he would have been. Dec, do you not want to talk about the brilliance of Sean Dyche as a manager?
No.
I've got a picture of Sean Dyche up in front of me now from 96, 97 season, and he doesn't actually look any different from what he looks like today.
No, same. Yeah, exactly. He hasn't aged in any way, has he really? Probably got more of a goatee going on these days, but other than that, there's nothing else really different about him.
Yeah. I've got a picture of Sean Dyche as well, but it's mounted on my dartboard.
So Sean Dyche is he's the sort of captain he is the captain of Chesterfield at this point. And as a 3rd tier side, they obviously have to start in the lower reaches of the tournament. So they enter the first round. They beat Bury and Scarborough in the first 2 rounds. They draw Bristol City in the 3rd round. Bristol City, I think, are a 3rd tier club at that stage as well. Probably the first tough game they have is against Bolton. And Bolton are in the 2nd tier at this stage. They're going pretty well. And Chesterfield win that one 3-2 at Bolton, courtesy of a Kevin Davis hat-trick. So this is really when Kevin Davis is starting to get some headlines and so forth. And then that earns them a 5th round game against Notts Forest. So Notts Forest come into town. So a bit of rivalry there as well. In this game, Chesterfield win 1-0, courtesy of a penalty. And quite a significant turning point is the sending off of Mark Crossley at the same time. Now, this is particularly noteworthy because the referee, anyone want to have a guess who the referee who sends Mark Crossley off and gives Chesterfield a penalty? It is, of course, David Ellery.
David
Ellery. Yeah.
David Ellery was the referee that Roy Keane, apparently, I don't know if it's a joke, but he used to just say to David Ellery in the tunnel just before they're going out, do you want to do it now and get it over with? Referring to the booking. Keane just expected to be booked by Ellery all the time. He was also, again, you remember, Graham, he was the referee that was mic'd up for the Arsenal-Millwall game.
Yeah.
When they're in the late 1980s, I think it was, or early 1990s, the Football League experimented with mic'd referees. It didn't catch on. I don't understand why.
So can anyone remember? So I can only remember a few of them. So, Roger Milford, a policeman from St. Albans or whatever. Now, David Ellery was a teacher, wasn't he? But I can't.
Yes,
I'm struggling to pin where he was from. He was like, he's from Kent, but I feel like I should know the. You're a match official today, David Ellery, teacher from. But it's not coming to me.
Well, we could change that.
I do remember reading in Neville Southall's book about Duncan Ferguson being sent off by Ellery for telling the truth. Yeah, I think actually the truth was that he'd called Ellery a baldy bastard.
Stating facts. Yeah. He's from the White Cliffs of Dover.
David Ellery, teacher from Dover. There we go. That's what.
Yeah, and in his early years, he was a geography teacher. There you go. At Harrow School, which I think is one of those nice ones, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. He does. So, yes, Forest win that 1-0. I think it is Tom Curtis that takes the penalty. That is interesting as well for reasons that we'll come on to in the Middlesbrough game. This sets up a quarterfinal. So Chesterfield, unbelievably, third-tier side, have reached the quarterfinal where they are drawn. And it's a really low level. It's a low level set of quarterfinals because unbelievably, they are drawn against Wrexham. This is Wrexham on the way down, I think. Not fully on the way down. But Wrexham are another third-tier club. Jamie, you won't know the answer to this, but surely, has there ever been two third-tier clubs playing in an FA Cup quarter-final before?
I haven't been prepared for that one, so I'm not sure. Probably not. I don't think so. There is a Wikipedia page dedicated to the semi-finals of the FA Cup. It's pretty brilliant, actually, in terms of what you can get. I do remember, I think it was in the 5th round, there was an all non-league tie. I think when Lincoln City, as they were on their charge about 10 years ago, was still a non-league club. They played possibly Sutton United, I think. But that was in the 5th round to get to the quarterfinals. But no, I don't think so. I mean, as we're going to explore, third-tier teams get into FA Cup semi-finals is a rarity. To have two of them matched against each other in a quarterfinal, which guarantees one in the semi-finals, is something I'm going to say is quite rare without having the data at hand.
Yes, it's all set up. Chesterfield get the home advantage. They win that one 1-0. They are in the semi-finals. And Jamie, that is a surprise.
Yeah, that is a surprise. I think there's only ever been 9 teams that have made 9 teams from the third tier in English football that have made the FA Cup semi-final. And I think when Chesterfield do this, they are the 6th team to do it. So it's quite a rare thing, really.
And worth saying as well that no third-tier side has ever made the final itself. Is that right?
Not one single team from the third tier has ever got to the FA Cup final yet.
Yeah. So, by the way, Phil, we're not going to talk about second-tier clubs that have got to the final. I don't think there's any interest in that.
No one cares.
I could recommend a very good podcast about that. That was the 3-hour podcast, wasn't it?
That was the one that changed the whole format of this thing. It was also in the 1970s where second-tier teams get into the FA Cup final was just common practice. Happened all the time.
Yeah, but only one turns out.
So obviously Chesterfield have never been to the FA Cup semi-final before, but neither have Middlesbrough. So neither side had ever made it to the FA Cup semi-final before. But it is fair to say that despite a kind of a mixed record in the Cup, that Borough and Chesterfield, they are poles apart at this stage. So Borough under the ownership of Steve Gibson, and we will come on and do this season at some point because it is a brilliant story, and I think there is a case for Steve Gibson being the best chairman in the world. That's why I think he's just. I think you look at most chairmen that clubs have, and get what Gibson did for Borough was pretty extraordinary, I think. But they are clubs in a totally different sphere at that stage. So, Borough, they're spending their millions on Ravanelli and Juninho and Emerson. And Chesterfield, by contrast, have spent the proverbial £500 and a bag of balls for Andy Morris up front. Middlesbrough have got their nice shiny new Riverside. They're out of Ayresome Park at the Riverside Stadium. Chesterfield's still playing in their ramshackle Saltergate. And Middlesbrough sponsored by BT subsidiary and I guess embryonic O2 multi-major telecoms unit Cellnet. And Chesterfield, of course, is sponsored by the North Derbyshire Health Authority. I have no idea what they're hoping to gain from that. But this Middlesbrough side are fantastic. But I think, Phil, you could probably speak to this. It would be fair to say that they're probably having to overspend to essentially pay the Middlesbrough tax, which is, of course, that they get these fabulous players, but none of them necessarily know where Middlesbrough or, in fact, Sunderland is.
It's a common problem, isn't it, for teams in the northeast? An issue that maybe kind of some of the most glamorous footballers in the world might not necessarily want to kind of go to the cold, dark, dank northeast of England. I can't remember who the player was, but wasn't it Roy Keane kicking off about a player who was keen to come to Sunderland up to the point at which his girlfriend said no. and he was apoplectic about it. But yeah, I mean that was pretty special. That was a pretty special time for Middlesbrough, wasn't it? To have Ravanelli and Janino and a good few other players kind of playing for them. It didn't necessarily kind of end with great success. There was kind of a flash of excitement, as I remember, but it didn't really kind of have legs.
And they had sort of mixed fortune. Janino kind of settled unbelievably well there and was a sort of fantastic player. Emerson, I'm not sure ever fully embraced Middlesbrough and therefore denied us the opportunity for him to link up with Paul Lake and Carlton Palmer in a midfield somewhere in a journeyman side, which I always felt was disappointing. But yes, this Middlesbrough side are definitely going places. And the clear sign they're going places is that the week before they play Chesterfield in the semi-final, they're in the League Cup final where they play Leicester City. That goes to extra time. It finishes 1-1. So they actually have the replay, I think, 3 or 4 days after this game against Chesterfield. So Middlesbrough have got a lot on their plate. And I think there's probably a bit of a fixture backlog at this point as well, partly because Middlesbrough chose not to play quite unwisely their game against Blackburn, which comes back to haunt them.
Yeah,
so
that's incredible, isn't it? Yeah, that was the game that they lost the points and then got relegated, wasn't it?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good shout. I'd forgotten about that. Wow.
Quite an incredible season. So we get to the FA Cup semi-final. So this is Chesterfield against Middlesbrough at Jamie's beloved Old Trafford. Mm-hmm. And it's fair to say there's not really even any hint of a shock or a surprise or anything until about 35 minutes into the first half, and Kinder picks up 2 yellow cards in about 5 minutes. Second one is a pretty clear and obvious pullback of Kevin Davis. And suddenly you have Middlesbrough with 10 men.
Who was the referee?
The referee is David Ellery. So at this point, David Ellery on the credit column has given Chesterfield 1 penalty, one opposition sending off, and 1 opposition sending off. So the Chesterfield fans quite like him at this stage. But it's quite not a great deal happens. 0-0 in the first half, and then you get this absolutely crazy second half. This all begins when Chesterfield take the lead. I think it's in the 54th minute, Andy Morris. And I just absolutely love this moment. This is, I think it's Howard has the shot, and Ben Roberts in the Middlesbrough goal makes he just sort of palms it out. And that first goal is the definition of my grandmother could have finished that. I mean, it's literally just in front of the goal, and Morris just has to stab it in. And it means he's got so much time to think about his celebration. What's he going to do? And, I'm not aware that Andy Morris was a prolific scorer throughout his career. He just does this unbelievable kind of walking, casual, almost Cantona-like strut.
Yeah, I mean, you already referenced it. It reminds me of just the confidence and arrogance of Eric Cantona. And I, do you know what? I think goal celebrations can be a bit overrated. I know they're a very important thing in football, and as fans, we like to jump around and get excited and hug strangers that we're never going to touch again in our lives. But we do that in the emotional kind of release of watching our teams score goals, especially important goals. But I when you're playing football, I mean, I think the coolest celebrations are the one where you don't do any celebrations. So yeah, I think Andy Morris's celebration is brilliant. I love it. And do you know what? You can't really run away going crazy after scoring a goal of that simplicity. I mean, it is the most simple goal.
Absolutely. I think he absolutely nails it. He's tapped it in from a yard, and you can see it's one of those rare moments where he's got time to think about how he's going to celebrate. There's literally no momentum. He's had no momentum into it because he is walking to the ball and just taps it in. I did do him disservice, actually. He was 56 goals in 220 odd games for Chesterfield. So actually, he's a 1 in 4 kind of striker. So he's a bit more prolific than I was giving him credit for. But yeah, it's just fantastic. He celebrates like he scores in the semi-final of the FA Cup every day of the week. Absolutely brilliant. But 4 minutes later, he almost does it again. 4 minutes later, he's through on goal. Ben Roberts, the Borough keeper, trips him up. And our man, David Ellery, points to the spot. So, it's another tick at this point. David Ellery at this point has in the course of 2 FA Cup games given Chesterfield 2 penalties and sent off 2 opposing players. Now, what's interesting is when Chesterfield beat Nottingham Forest, they do so with a penalty, and it's Curtis, the fullback or midfielder, I think, who takes the penalty. But I don't know what's happened in the interim period, but it's absolutely evident that Chesterfield have no designated penalty taker at this point. So John Duncan is on the sides literally pointing at who he wants to take the penalty. And of course, who does he decide to take it other than Chesterfield captain Sean Dyche? Now, on the one hand, he's not an obvious choice to take the penalty because Sean Dyche hasn't scored in the previous 3.5 years. And as far as I know, is not a penalty taker.
He's never taken a penalty before, and he's never taken a penalty after.
So he steps up to take the penalty. What I find extraordinary is that, I appreciate Sean Dyche wasn't as famous as he is now. And we probably don't know as much as we know about how Sean Dyche approaches the game. But even without that, if the number 4 centre-back captain, Sean Dyche, he's been kicking people most of the game, if he steps up, there is literally only one thing he's going to do with that penalty, isn't it? You're not going to get Panenka from him, are you?
I mean, I've seen it. Phil, Deck, have you seen Sean Dyche's penalty that he takes in the one that Graham's built up?
I haven't seen it, but I'm guessing he hits it hard and in the middle of the goal. Am I correct?
Genius.
Absolutely. And Middlesbrough's keeper, Ben Roberts, for a totally unaccountable reasons, dives out of the way. I mean, it was only ever going to finish there.
That's a no-nonsense Sean Dyche strike. That's what I wouldn't have it any other way.
It is absolutely, he takes the absolute Sean Dyche-like penalty that you would expect. Slams it in the middle. A fair play to him. First goal in 3.5 years. First and only penalty, as Jamie rightly says there. And unbelievably, Chesterfield are now 2-0 up, a man up, and there's only 32 minutes to go. Only 30 minutes to go. So, it is absolutely set at this point. Now, Middlesbrough throughout this have been in the game, and they immediately go down the other end. 4 minutes later, Ravanelli pulls one back for 2-1, and the game is starting to go absolutely mad. 4 minutes later, after that, Kevin Davis weaves his way from the byline, crosses one in, there's a bit of ricocheting, and the ball suddenly comes to John Howard in absolutely acres of space, suspiciously almost offside. There is a player playing him on, but he does look potentially offside. He takes the ball inside the defender this is about 6 yards out, and absolutely slams it into the underside of the crossbar. It bounces down there or thereabouts on the line, bounces back out. Some Chesterfield players run away celebrating, some don't. David Ellery is unmoved at this point, and the goal doesn't stand.
I'm not sure. There's a touch of the 1966 England versus West Germany about it. I'm not convinced. It's hard to tell. I know generally it's called the ghost goal because obviously David Ellery has decided that he's done Chesterfield probably too many favours in this FA Cup run, and maybe one more is not going to do his character any favours. I don't know. I mean, I feel I'm totally impartial on this because I'd love to see Chesterfield win this game. Generally, I got nothing against Middlesbrough whatsoever. But yeah, I'm not sure it crosses the line.
I was in love with this Chesterfield side at this point. I just loved the story of them doing it. I'm not impartial, and every time I see it, it's clearly in. It's clearly in. It's definitely over the line, and I don't dispute it. But I think you are right that whenever you get these goal line decisions, I think generally, if they're not sure, I think they err on not giving the goal. In fact, sometimes even when they're pretty sure, like Pedro Mendes at Old Trafford that time, they still don't give the goal.
Yeah. Goal line technology has taken that away.
Really?
And, I mean, you could very easily argue that's a good thing because if it's a goal and it should be awarded. And football's a game of fine margins, so it's important. But it also takes away the fun of football because you can debate it 1966, it still gets debated now. And no one really talks about the fact that all Roger Hunt had to do was follow it in rather than turn away and celebrate, which was clever because he suggested to the referee, it's a goal. I don't need to do the simple thing. He doesn't need to do an Andy Morris, basically.
But the one that stands out to me at an international level again would be Frank Lampard's shot from outside the box. Was it against Germany? In that case, there shouldn't really been any doubt at all that it was over the line. The linesman, even if he's behind the ball, should have been able to see it. But, he struck it well and it went really fast and it's in the kind of the blink of an eye. To be honest, after the playoff final against Sheffield United, when Sunderland might have been somewhat fortunate not to be 2-0 down, I decided never, ever to critique VAR, including goal line decisions, ever again. So, all in favour of it.
And I think regarding that game as well, I think we should point out, in the interest of balance, that the second, third, fourth and fifth Germany goals all definitely crossed the line.
You've got a point there, Dick. Yeah.
Do you know what? That is the goal. That was the straw that breaks the camel's back, as the saying goes. That's where the need for goal line technology came in. After that moment, there was a real campaign for it, and now we have it. Frank Lampard, he's responsible.
Well, as you say, there was a Russian linesman in 1966 who helped England out at that crucial time. There is a linesman in this game, and this is probably the thing. Now, I haven't seen the footage because I've never actually seen camera trained on what the linesman does. But when you look at Sky's coverage of this game, Martin Tyler flags that the linesman puts his flag up as if to indicate a goal and starts making his way back down the half as if he's indicating a goal. And that's definitely what the right back, Jamie Hewitt, thinks. Now it's possible that when David Ellery, if he saw that flag, thinks that the linesman is flagging for offside and then decides, well, it hasn't gone in, it's gone out for a goal kick and then we'll just carry on. But I think probably what's definitely not in doubt is that if he had his time again, David Ellery would probably have been wise to speak to his linesman, which I don't think he does in that instance. And the Chesterfield players probably show a bit of naivety in that because
they do.
They don't really make a fuss about it. Now, should Arsenal find themselves in that position today, I suspect they might have a word.
Can you imagine a manager on the side, kind of, a Guardiola? He'd be jumping up and down with steam coming out of his head.
David Ellery. So, it's been all credit for Chesterfield up until that moment. He has gone downhill in there, especially. He goes even further downhill 2 minutes later when he gives a penalty against Sean Dyche for what I would also describe as a completely Sean Dyche challenge.
Yeah,
on the edge of the area. And I think in this instance, Dyche probably his complaint is probably that he thinks he's outside the area or he's attempted to foul him outside the area, but it does probably look as though that's it. I don't think there's too much complaint about that penalty. And Middlesbrough go 2-2. And, at that point, it looks like the dream is completely over. We go into extra time and Uncle Festa, I can't even remember his name now, Festa, the Italian centre-back who was playing for Borough at the time, he puts them 3-2 up and it all looks as though Middlesbrough are going through. And then there is one glorious final twist and turn. We enter the 119th minute and cross is put deep into the area. Middlesbrough are, they only have 10 men. They must be getting tired by this point. They've been playing with 10 men for since about the 35th minute or so. They allow the ball to bounce in their penalty area and gloriously Jamie Hewitt, the right back, pops up from absolutely nowhere and heads the ball into the back of the net. And if Andy Morris was unbelievably cool in his celebration, you just have to hand it for Hewitt, who has this full, oh my God, I'm a fullback. I've just scored a goal which could put Chesterfield in the FA Cup final. And his celebration is glorious. He's got the full arms raised. He doesn't quite know what to do. And he's definitely about to set off on a David Pleat jig of joy because he just looks quite unnatural in his run. And the Chesterfield players, I think, save him from that fate by absolutely mobbing him. But it's a glorious, glorious moment for Hewitt. But at the same time, on the touchline, they then cut to the celebration on the bench, which shows John Duncan, who's in this, who looks like he's in a romper suit. He's got this massive tracksuit on.
Yeah.
He's also got a lot of hair. You can't see much of John Duncan other than his glasses, which, in the excitement, get knocked off his face. He then, I think, then he's becomes quite agitated as to where his whether he's agitated about, oh my God, where are my glasses, or we have to kind of get ourselves back set in case Middlesbrough come back. But alarmingly, there is some footage of John Duncan at the very last minute celebrating at the end, and there is no sign of his glasses. So I fear the glasses were broken in this moment. But an absolutely glorious thing. Chesterfield somehow have taken Middlesbrough to a replay. It is not to be, of course. We're kind of used to these stories. Chesterfield lose the replay 3-0. And that's kind of it for... Well, actually, it's kind of it for both sides, slightly amazingly. So Chesterfield, the end of that season, Dyche goes, Davis goes. Within a couple of years, they are relegated again. John Duncan leaves, and Chesterfield, they've been a bit up and down for a while. They do eventually drop out of the league. They're back now under Paul Cook, but that was as high as they were to get. Middlesbrough, so they've reached the FA Cup final. They've got the League Cup final replay to play. So they probably lose the League Cup replay to Leicester 1-0. Presuming Middlesbrough are quite tired by this stage, having played consecutive extra time periods. They then play the FA Cup final, which against Chelsea, where memorably they last all of 43 seconds before Di Matteo puts Chelsea ahead, a lead they never really looked like losing. And Middlesbrough get relegated that season, again, as we pointed out. I think they go down by 2 points, and had they been able to send a team to the Blackburn game, which they essentially forfeited because of, I think it was a flu virus or something, they would have stayed up.
This is their first semi-final, Middlesbrough, which is incredible, considering the kind of the relatively size of this team. But they go on and have 2 further semi-finals in the next 10 years as well. So they've been in 3 FA Cup semi-finals, and they all happen in this kind of 10-year period between this one and 2006, where I think they lost to Arsenal. I may be wrong on that, or I think it was Arsenal or Chelsea.
This is a period, and it's a real golden period of FA Cup semi-finals. The 1990s is the ultimate decade of FA Cup semi-finals. So, Jamie, you know where this begins. You know what the first one is. The 2 FA Cup semi-finals in 1990 is, of course...
Yeah, the birth of TV.
Birth of TV. It is the 13-goal double-header.
Yeah.
It's Liverpool Palace 4-3, followed by Oldham Man United 3-3 on the same day. Absolutely glorious.
Yeah, it is glorious, actually. 92 was a poor one as well. It was a really kind of meek Liverpool team beating Portsmouth, I think, on penalty kick.
You know, if we had South Coast Jamie on it, he'd be very happily talk you through this again. But Darren Anderton, a young Darren Anderton, scores, and they score with about 7-8 minutes of extra time to go, and then Ronnie Whelan equalises. It's a cruel turn on Jim Smith's Pompey at that time.
And then Sunderland played Norwich in the other one, and I don't know what happened in the final. Phil, you can tell me.
It was slightly better than Middlesbrough, but yeah, the fates were somewhat against us, perhaps not to the same extent as Di Matteo and kind of cracking that one in. Your heart must have sunk. But we enjoyed the semi, but not the final. Yeah,
and obviously in '95, Dec and his beloved Everton had a semi-final in the 1990s as well.
Yes, the semi against Tottenham. Daniel Amokachi came on and he wasn't meant to. Yeah, right. he was basically, they were sort of ready him. I can't remember who it was. He was injured, but he got ready to come on and just basically ran on. He wasn't. Hadn't said to him, "Get on." He just went. So they made the substitution and he scored.
It's a comfortable win as well for them, wasn't it? I think they won it. Yeah.
91? That's Paul Gascoigne. Paul Gascoigne's free kick against Arsenal.
Mm.
And then, what better way to cap a decade of unbelievable FA Cup semi-final and iconic moments? What happens in 1999, Jamie?
Well, lots of brilliant things happened in 1999. I mean, where do you want to start?
Well, there's only I won't let you list them all, but we are talking Ryan Giggs, aren't we?
We are talking Ryan Giggs, and that's one of my few regrets. I went to the first game at Villa Park, which finished 0-0, and then I had a ticket for the replay, and I gave it up for various reasons, work, financial, and decided that I'll just watch it on TV, and that turned out well, didn't it?
That was quite an iconic scene. When it was the saved penalty and then Ryan Giggs running to the other end and scoring and then taking his shirt off and waving it in the air. And that chest, what a chest. No wonder his brother's wife was tempted by that chest.
Real Forrest there.
Yeah, he was a man with lots of hair. My favorite bit about that semi-final, as we're talking about, you brought up, Graham, is the Schmeichel penalty save from Bergkamp, because I think Bergkamp rarely missed penalties, but it's not the save itself, because it's a pretty weak penalty from Bergkamp, and Schmeichel powers it down and away, and the ball's still in play. Philip Neville, who's conceded the penalty, rather than focusing on defending where the ball's gone in, he just rushes straight to Schmeichel to grab him and kiss him and just be so grateful that he hasn't screwed up the season. And you can see Schmeichel is pushing him away, because Schmeichel was the captain at the time, like, this ball's still in play. It's still in our penalty box. Do your job.
Oh, brilliant. Well, we will get a chance to talk more about that game, I suspect, because we are going to be doing that Arsenal side shortly in a future podcast. But we should get to giving this side a little ranking. I mean, I think it's pretty clear. We got 5 categories of greatness, from all-time greats at the top, true greats, touch greatness, in the middle, edge of greatness, and our bottom of the tier category, blinker greats. Jamie, I think I know where you're going. Where are you putting them?
I mean, I'm struggling to put them in blinkered greats, because I feel we need to create a new one. I mean, they don't even deserve to be in that, and they don't deserve to be in not great, because without them, where would we be today? Well, we wouldn't be anywhere, because teams from the third tier made the FA Cup semi-finals before, and they've made them after. I think I mentioned Chesterfield were the 6th. A correction here. They were the 7th, sandwiched between Plymouth Argyle and Wycombe Wanderers, who made the FA Cup semi-final in, I think, the year 2001, potentially, losing out to Liverpool. And then Sheffield United have done it recently. So blinkered greats, and even then I'm thinking I'm being super generous.
I don't like that. I don't like. You seem to have completely ignored that this team was robbed of its rightful place in the final. Phil, where are you going with this?
I might be more generous. I like the romance of the FA Cup and a third tier team getting to the semi-final. It doesn't happen very often. So I would go edge of greatness.
Yeah, I know it. Dec, what about you?
I've got to go with Jamie, I'm afraid. We are talking blinkered greatness here. In fact, I'd even personalise the blinkers with the words David Ellery on them to, seeing as he's ruled out that goal that's so obviously crossed the line. Never wrong, David.
Well, sadly, I think you're right. Yes, I think we have to do it. Had that ball been given, had that goal been given, I think we would be talking about this unbelievable side, Chesterfield, the only third-tier team to ever get to the FA Cup final. Sadly, it wasn't given, and we have to say Chesterfield, 97, blinkered greats. So there we have it, another team ranked. We are, of course, on our mid-winter Bundesliga style break, as I like to call it, recovering from our Christmas and New Year festivities. But whilst we're away, you can keep in touch with us and what we're doing, not just with the archive of our various podcasts on the podcast feed, but Jamie, we've got somewhere else people can go and have a look. We've got a website.
We do have a website, Graham, thegreatnessindex.com. That is our new website, where you can go and see all of the teams that we've ranked, with small stories, some additional information, some lovely football kits, and a whole load of goodies and blogs and delight. Yeah, so get to thegreatnessindex.com, our website, and please reach out. Let us know what you think. We hope to be growing that website over the coming months.
Yeah, absolutely. You can get to us on all our usual social channels. That's Said and Done and Couch Pundito. Mostly, I think Blue Sky is probably are the one we're mostly in, but we're also on Insta with By Far the Greatest Team as well. So that's it for this week. Next up, it's Manchester City. Oh, what a glorious team. Manchester City 67-70.